Hi everybody, I'm Carla Ficker and welcome to another All Things Growing. And today I am with Stephanie Adaska, who is in charge anyway, of the Taste of the Mountains Cooking School up in Glen, New Hampshire?
In Glen, New Hampshire, at the Bernerhoff Inn, which is a bed and breakfast in Glen.
Right. And I asked Stephanie, now that the garden is over, I asked her, now that we're getting into the holiday season, Thanksgiving looms, and for some of us, we don't need a big meal. We don't, there are only a couple for dinner. And I thought Stephanie, better than anybody, because she does these cooking classes, would know how to make a wonderful meal for a small group or for just a couple.
Right. So today we are making. Generally, we're making a stuffed. It's basically a stuffing-filled turkey loin, tenderloin I'm using. Normally I would use a boneless turkey breast, but for availability purposes I could only get the tenderloin. And we're stuffing that with an apple and dried cranberry stuffing, and we're using Macoun apples, which are fantastic this time of year. Macoun apples are a tradition in New England, originally from New York State, and they're grown now throughout the Northeast and New England. And we have that in our stuffing, and we're also doing a twice-baked sweet potato. Yeah, it gets better.
Smells so good here.
It gets better. Not only is it a twice-baked sweet potato, which are great on their own, but it's with bacon and bourbon. So it's going to have some yummy flavor to it.
Geez, this is a tough job.
It is a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. Well, let's get started.
Okay, we're going to start with our stuffing for the turkey. Okay. Here we have on the stove, I have a pan heating up here. And what I'm going to be heating up is sauteing some onions. And I have a little butter and some olive oil, pure olive oil. And I'm going to put in about, I'd say about a third of a cup, maybe a half of a cup of chopped white onion. Okay. And you can use a Vidalia onion. You can use just a white onion, Spanish onion, if you prefer, whatever kind of onions you like.
And this is the stuffing
This is going to be the stuffing. We're going to prepare the stuffing first, and then we're going to roll the turkey tenderloin.
What a great idea.
Yeah, well, hey, we're pretty good here at a Taste of the Mountains Cooking School.
Yeah.
And essentially, we're heating up the onions to extract the flavor from that, from the onions, which is going to add flavor to our stuffing. After these get sautéed for a couple minutes, we're going to also add in some celery.
Okay.
And some minced carrots.
Wow.
Yeah, I have about a quarter cup of each of those, of the carrot and the celery. And as those saute up, I'm also going to season them with a little bit of salt and pepper. I have kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. And when cooking any food, it's really important to season as you go.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, it really helps absorb the flavors, the salt and the pepper seasoning, into putting all at the end. I don't put salt and pepper on my table at home because I season my food as I go, and I'm hoping that people don't want to add more seasoning. Obviously, if they ask for it, I'll give it to them, but I like the way that I like the way I season my food, so I tend to just season as I go and taste it before I serve it.
So there's salt and pepper.
Just a kosher salt and black pepper. Okay. I grind my black pepper usually weekly, and you get the best freshest there, because if you buy it at the grocery store and it's in a can, you don't know how long it's been sitting. Been sitting there.
It's got a nice fresh flavor.
It's got a nice fresh flavor, exactly. Yeah. So to that, I'm going to add about 1 clove of garlic minced.
Okay.
Okay. And that's sauteed. Normally I would saute it a little bit longer. I'd have it on for approximately about 5 to 7 minutes until the vegetables are nice and soft. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'm moving over here. I have about 2.5 cups of dried sourdough bread that I've dried it in the oven. I've cubed it and I dried it in the oven overnight. And so it's nice and crispy.
Okay. All right.
Okay. When making breadcrumbs or when you're making stuffing, don't use stale bread, because when you start with a stale product, you're going to end up with a stale finished product. So always use the best and freshest ingredients. Even though you technically end up making it stale because you're making it hard, it actually is not going to taste stale. It's still going to have a nice touch fresh. Yes.
I have to throw my stale bread out.
So if I have bread at home and I don't use it all, I'll cut it up in cubes and I'll throw it in the freezer. And that way it's being frozen when it's still fresh.
Good thinking.
So you
Yep.
can label it, put dates on it, keep it in there like up to 6 months. I put it in a Ziploc baggie.
And you make your own breadcrumbs?
I make my own breadcrumbs and I make my own bread cubes. You can certainly buy stuffing mix or stuffing cubes bread at the grocery store, and that's not a bad option. So to this, I'm adding some sage, and this is dried sage. I actually had grown some sage at home and dry it. Certainly, if you buy vegetables at the grocery store, herbs at the grocery store, the mountain herbs or the hardier herbs, thyme and
good.
sage, you can dry them.
Yes.
Leave them out and let them dry for a couple days, or at a low temperature in your oven, and then you can just grind them up. That's what I do, and I very rarely have to buy actual dried herbs at the store. So I'm adding, I would say, about a half a teaspoon of sage and a half a teaspoon of thyme. Okay, and here I'm going to add about a cup of, again, the Macoun apples, and this is going to add a nice moisture to the dish, and also a little bit of a sweetness to it. And Macouns are really sweet, and they're great to cook with.
And they're an old variety, aren't they? They're from way back.
Yep, they're from way back. I also have dried cranberries here. You could use dried cherries if you like. You can chop up some figs or prunes if you like, whatever dried vegetables you like.
Okay, so that's kind of what that looks like right now.
Okay, and then to that I'm going to add some chicken broth. And I have chicken broth here. I'm not measuring because I don't measure much, but I'm going to say that's about a cup of chicken broth. And I'm just going to mix this all together.
Okay.
And here we have.
It smells wonderful,
Smells
Stephanie.
good?
Yes.
Perfect. So there is our
Stuffing.
So now we come to the turkey portion of our dish. Let me heat up my pan here because I'm going to be using it again.
Now this is a turkey tenderloin.
That is actually a turkey tenderloin, and what I did is I butterflied it, which means I basically just spread it out I cut it open a little bit more, and then I took my meat tenderizer, which is right here, and I just pound it out so it's nice and even all around.
Right. And you have to put it in between. I mean, I usually do it anyway. It's just you have to make sure that you're not pounding on the meat itself.
Right, because it's very tender.
Did that
yes,
one time,
and it shreds it apart. So you really want to make sure. And it's also, so you make sure you have plastic bags. You can use a Ziploc baggie. I find plastic bags work best. Let me just check my temperature here.
So you go to the supermarket and you buy. You can buy a boneless breast of turkey.
Yes, you can buy a boneless breast of turkey. You usually can find them in the freezer section year round. And in this case, I didn't think ahead of time for the class. I was thinking that I would have it available to me for some reason. So I ended up getting a turkey tenderloin, which is found fresh in the poultry section. So again, I have the plastic here, and it also helps keep my cutting board clean. You don't want to be cross-contaminating if you're cutting other items on your cutting board. You don't want to have any raw meats. So before I do anything, I'm always seasoning as I go. So here I am, salt and pepper.
Okay.
Okay. And a little pepper on the inside. Then we have our stuffing. And you're going to basically eyeball it. If you have a breast, it might be a little bit larger than the tenderloin, so you might have a little bit more space in here.
Okay.
There I go.
Look at that. That looks wonderful. And then you just roll it up and you tie it.
And then I'm going to roll it up. Okay. And I'm going to flip it over on the ends. And what I did is I have a skewer that is going to go hold the flaps in. Okay. Just check my pan over here. A little oil to the pan, or in that case some butter. And I am going to use this is a butcher's twine. You can get it at the grocery store. You can get it at the hardware store. Thank you. And you're going to start at one end, and you're just going to tie a little knot. And then I'm going to try to keep this together as tight as possible.
Do you want me to hold that?
Sure, if you want to. Your hands are nice and clean, right? We made sure of that in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'm going to slip it underneath my turkey breast. You could also do this with chicken, but the chicken, you'd have to put less stuffing in it. So to tie it, what we're going to do is we're going to try to keep this line, pretend this is the line all the way along. So we're going to just flip under here and pull. And we're going to make it nice and tight if possible. And we're going to do that a couple times along the length of the
And
turkey.
this holds the stuffing in.
This holds the stuffing in. This is also a similar tying fashion if you're doing like a stuffed pork loin or something. Similar process. It's not very difficult. Okay, let me just make sure this is not burning. My pan's going to be nice and hot, and what we're going to do is we're going to sear the turkey. There we go.
Perfect.
And again, I use this skewer just to help
Just kind of
assist
hold
and hold
everything
things
together,
because
yeah.
when you're stuffing meats, it sometimes can get a little bit challenging.
That looks great.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. I've done this once or twice. And then we just cut that off. So again, before I put it in the pan, I'm going to season it. Now, I'm not going to dip my fingers into my salt and pepper canisters here because cross-contamination. So I'm just going to use my fingers.
And that really is an issue, isn't
Yeah,
it?
you can flip her over there. I got it.
Okay.
And then it's of course it's an issue. You don't, because what happens is I use salt and pepper all the time in my kitchen, and I always make sure that I'm not cross-contaminating when I have raw meats.
Is it any raw meat or is it just
All
chicken?
Any
All
raw
meat?
meat.
Okay.
You don't want to put any. It just you don't. There's so many different kind of things that can happen out there, so you don't want to do that. So what next I'm going to do is I'm going to put this turkey roll up into my hot pan over here, and I'm going to sear it on all sides. And I have, in the meantime, I have my oven temperature set to 375 degrees, and I'm going to be putting that into a hot oven.
In that pan?
Actually, I have another pan going, a smaller pan, because I have other things I'm going to be showing you to cook. So that's just going to sear. It's going to take a couple minutes on each side. It's going to get nice and brown. And the butter aids in the browning process of the pan.
And how long does that process take? About 5 10 minutes?
I would say a total of 8 to 10 minutes tops. Let's see if it's got a little color. I want it a little bit more.
Yeah.
The thing about these commercial stoves, they're so different than what most people have at home, because you have dirty hands too.
Yeah.
But it's very different from what most people have at home, so they tend to get hot really quickly.
Yeah. So with respect to the searing, the purpose for the searing of the meat is to sort of seal the outside of it?
You're sealing the outside. You're creating a caramelization of the meat, which is the browning of the meat, which actually will help keep in the flavor and, the moisture of the meat. But it also is going to enhance the flavor. And if you tend to use, for the pans, if you're using the pan to make a gravy or something out of it, the brown crust on the bottom, it's called fond, F-O-N-D, fond. And if it's not burnt, you'll want to use it to help make your sauce. If you find that you're getting a little bit too dark, you don't want to, if it's burnt, you don't want to use it for your sauce, because then your sauce will get burnt. So we're just going to sear that on all sides. And you want it to be about that amount of brown.
Yes.
And you do that on all sides.
And you don't want to overcook it, because that's not good for it either.
Right, and turkey tends to be a pretty low-fat meat. So poultry in general tends to have a little less fat than some of the other meats. So you don't want to dry it out. And that's why when we're cooking this, we're going to be adding some foil to our dish, which is thank you.
And that will cover the turkey?
That's going to cover the turkey. That's going to cover the turkey to help keep in some of the moisture. And generally when I'm cooking with turkey or chicken, I'll add a little bit of, I'll have a little fat in the bottom of the pan, but I'm also going to add a little chicken broth. You can add wine to enhance the flavor, just to keep a little moisture in there. And when you cover it, it'll almost actually steam it a little bit.
That's when you put it in the oven?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Looking good. Smells even better.
It smells even better, I know. So for something of this thickness, this particular turkey roulade, I guess we could call it, or stuffed turkey tenderloin, it's going to cook probably about 35 to 40 minutes until it's completely
In the
all the way
oven,
cooked,
right.
all the way in the oven at 375 degrees. If you need to peek, and see if the meat is no longer pink, you really want it to be opaque.
So you can buy these tenderloins just like that in
Just
the
like that.
supermarket?
Well, they're not butterflied. I butterfly this,
You butterfly
which
them, right.
essentially is just kind of splitting it open a little bit more, and then I pound it out so it's equal thickness all the way around, so
Okay.
it cooks evenly. Okay. So now I'm going to take my pan I have in the oven here, and again I have a little bit of fat
of oil
on the bottom of the pan, and I'm going to put this in there. To add a little bit of chicken broth. And I'm going to cover that up. And then she goes back into the oven. And I just put it, this is a smaller pan than the other one, so it's easier to fit in the oven. So again, 375, 35 to 45 minutes, depending on the thickness of your turkey breast. Okay?
And everything gets cooked, the vegetables and everything in there?
Everything's, well, the vegetables were already sauteed a little bit already. In the stuffing, you mean?
Yeah.
They were already sauteed, so they're going to continue to cook throughout there, and they're going to absorb some of the juice from the
Oh,
turkey
that sounds
as well.
wonderful. Sounds wonderful.
Yes. Okay, so when we come back, we'll be working on, as the turkey's cooking, we will be working on the bourbon and bacon twice baked sweet potatoes.
Oh, my.
Sound good?
Sounds wonderful.
All right.
We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And I want to hear a little bit about yourself. I mean, I know what you do, but I don't know how many people realize to the degree that you're involved in cooking and your background and all of that. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I grew up in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl. Don't hold that against me. I'm a nice girl. But
New Jersey's a nice
I
state.
know. They do call it the Garden State for a reason. But I grew up in New Jersey, and I knew at a very young age that I wanted to be a chef. I knew at a very young age that I wanted to go to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York, CIA. And when I graduated high school, I worked in restaurants for several years before going to culinary school. And once I graduated there, I continued on and went and got an associate's degree in hotel restaurant management. And after that, I went back into the restaurant business. I actually had worked also as a food photographer and assistant food photographer and recipe tester for a magazine for chefs, and was able to travel around the world and eat at the best restaurants and eat. Yeah, it was a pretty amazing job. And for several years, I worked in restaurant business and hotels and things. And then I got out of the business. And for about 15 years, I was out of the restaurant business. I didn't want to work weekends, nights, and holidays, although I did a little catering on the side. But for the most part, I had a different career. And a couple years ago, I decided I really wanted to get back into the food thing, but I didn't want to own a restaurant. I didn't want to work weekends, nights, and holidays. I'd been spoiled. And I joined the local White Mountain American Culinary Federation group and started getting my fingers back into, network of chefs and whatnot, and did a little research and found out that personal chef is a great business to get into. And a personal chef is somebody who has multiple clients, and they go to different clients' homes during the week and cook meals for them, usually 5 to 6 meals per day, times however many family members they have, and then cook the food and prepare it, and then store it in either a refrigerator or the freezer with heating directions. So I have several clients in the Mount Washington Valley that I'll go to their homes and I cook at their home, and busy people like yourself who work full time and don't have time to cook, and so that's what I do. I have different clients, and it's a great opportunity for me because I get to be in the business, but I still get to work Monday through Friday, and I get to meet some amazing people, and they don't have to cook, and they love my food. So I go back. I also do some catering, and I do some parties and small private cooking lessons in people's homes.
Oh, you do private cooking
lessons in people's home. And also I am the director of a Taste of the Mountains cooking school here at the Bernerhofen in Glen.
And it just started up again, didn't it?
About a year ago. Yep. Last November was our first class to reopen. The school was very popular several years ago when the previous owners owned it, and eventually it was sold, and the school went by the wayside for a while. And then Dick Batcher, when he purchased the Bernerhof years ago, wanted to revive the Taste of the Mountains cooking school.
Yay, Dick!
Yay,
Yeah,
Dick!
yeah.
Dick's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here at the Taste of the Mountains, which is great, and it's been a lot of fun.
And you have some classes coming up too. You have a really interesting one, wine pairing. I wonder why I like that one.
Yes, I like that one too. I'm actually the November 23rd. It's a Saturday evening. It's a cooking class and 4-course meal. We have the school fits up to 8 students in the kitchen. Any more beyond that, it's a little too tight for us. So
yeah, I
what
can
we're
see
doing,
where it might be,
it's very tight here. But we have 8 students in the kitchen, and they're going to be preparing
so it's
a
all
4-course,
hands-on?
all hands-on. We're going to be drinking wine, wines of the Napa. It's called Napa, a Taste of Napa. So we're doing wines of Napa Valley in foods that would be found in the Napa Valley, and we're going to be drinking wine and cooking in the kitchen, and then we're going to bring our food out and serve it to the students here that have prepared the meal, but also if we have some guests, like people can come off the street if you have reservations, because we only have a limited seating. But if you make a reservation, people can come join us and have the 4-course meal, and there's a different wine with each course, with the exception of the salad course. So 3 different wines.
How many classes are you teaching? Is it over the winter? Or?
We have so far we have November and December, classes scheduled. There is a new owner at the Bernerhof Inn here, so we wanted to kind of let him get used to the the running of the inn, and then we'll be resuming probably in February, March.
Good.
We'll start having more classes scheduled, but I am available for hire to do private classes in people's homes, and actually I have some private classes that are available at the inn as well.
At the inn,
so,
great.
And then in December we have holiday desserts, make-ahead desserts, so things that you can prepare a week or 2 or 3 weeks in advance and throw in your freezer, and then pull them out of the freezer and they're ready to go. And then we have Bud Selmy, who is a chef, American Culinary Federation friend of mine.
Sizzlin'
Sizzlin' Sauces, Bud. So he is going to be teaching one of the classes in December as well. And his class is almost booked up. So if people,
what's his class called?
His class is called Sizzlin'. Now you caught me off guard. Sizzlin' Sauces with Bud. It's and I believe it's on December 9th.
That's original.
It's pretty original, yeah. But Bud's a great guy, and he's a great chef.
His sauces are awesome.
They are awesome.
Yeah, really
and
wonderful.
he does some work at the Margarita Grill, and they're a very sustainable restaurant. He's going to be teaching about that as well, and he's got some neat recipes.
Sounds like you're going to be busy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Love it.
Yeah, it is. It's great. So our next dish here, we are going to be doing a twice-baked sweet potato with bourbon and bacon. So what I've done here, sweet potatoes, believe it or not, even though sometimes people call them yams, they're really not. They're not
I
related.
always wondered about that. So a sweet potato and a yam are essentially the same thing.
They're different. No,
They
they're different.
are different?
They are different.
Well,
They're
what's
very
the
different.
difference between them?
Sweet potatoes are here, grown mostly here in the United States, where yams are, from what I remember reading, have been Asian.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, I was doing a little research. But what's nice about the sweet potatoes is they're really good and they're healthy for you. They're full of vitamin A. So if now I'm going to kind of unhealthify them a little bit by adding some of the things that I'm going to be adding to them. But what I've done is 375 degree oven. You wash your sweet potatoes and you pierce them with a fork, and they're whole, okay? And you're going to bake them at 375 for 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how big they are, and you just till they're fork tender. Then what I've done is I cut them in half lengthwise, and I scooped out the meat is in here. In this bowl here, I'm adding about a teaspoon and a half, 2 teaspoons of butter. That's my dog. And then I have 3 tablespoons of softened, and both my butter softened as well as the cream cheese. That is about 3 tablespoons of cream cheese. Again, you know me, seasoning with salt and pepper. I have a little bit of salt there. And a little bit of pepper. I have about a tablespoon of brown sugar. This is a dark brown sugar. And that's going to add a little bit of sweetness to this dish. I'm going to say about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I have some dried ground ginger here, and I have about, I'd say about a quarter of a teaspoon. Notice I don't measure much in my kitchen. And then I have nutmeg, and I love fresh nutmeg. It really makes a difference in the flavor for your dish. Don't overdo, because it can really get the soapy, strong scent to it. And believe it or not, actually, and I wouldn't worry about it, you probably could eat the whole thing and not die, but it actually can be deadly if you use too much.
Seriously?
Seriously. Do I look like the kind of girl that's going to lie to you, Carla?
No.
But we're just using a little bit. Probably, if you were to use dried, I would say maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of fresh nutmeg. But of nutmeg ground. I like the fresh. Using my microplane. Do you have one of these?
No, but I was looking at it.
This is my favorite kitchen tool. If I were to be thrown on a desert island, yes, you can smell.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
It smells. Ugh.
Yes. So this dish, in addition, that's a microplane.
You can get these at like Kitchen Collectibles or Corning or anything.
You can get it anywhere locally in any of the stores. Even TJ Maxx has it. Hannaford sells them. And I'm not a spokesperson for them, but I should be because I love my microplane. I almost like it more than my knives. Maybe not that much.
Well,
then I'm going to add a little bit of bourbon to add a little extra flavor here. And this is...
Just a little?
Just a little. Well, you don't want to get drunk on your... It is going to get baked out. But in any case, this is bourbon, a Kentucky bourbon.
That smells good too.
Yes, I'm a bourbon girl. I like my bourbon. And I'm just mixing this all together. And again, this started with just the meat that was with the sweet potatoes.
Mix it all up.
Mixing it in there as much as possible. And I believe I'm close to getting it ready. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff it back into the sweet potatoes, and then I'm going to place it in the oven. And they're going to cook for about 15 more minutes. Oops, I'm making a mess here. And Carla, you can actually help me stuff these. And just... I can smell the bourbon and the cinnamon.
I know, it smells everything.
Yes, it smells good.
These are going to be good. I do twice-baked potatoes with garlic and cheese, and it's one of the...
Those are also fat-free and healthy for you too,
yes,
right?
they are, yeah. It's one time of the year, you know?
That's true. So this meal that I'm preparing with the turkey that we have in the oven, it's great, for a small, if you're only cooking for yourself and a spouse, or, if you're preparing, not preparing for a huge crowd and you don't want a whole turkey.
Right.
You don't need to...
Well, but it also opens up any other time of the year for you if you wanted to do that, and you don't want everything that goes with the turkey and the 7 hours in the oven.
Of course. It's nice and easy. So there we go. We got pretty much all that in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the dish. I'm going to top it off with one of my other favorite ingredients, in addition to bourbon and butter and all the other lovely things, is some crumbled up bacon. And this is just going to add another layer of flavors to the dish.
And all of these recipes are going to be on your website,
They will be
right?
on my website, StephanieAdaska.com, and Stephanie is Steffani. And my last name is Adaska, like the state of Alaska.
Bob will make sure that your information is on the bottom of the screen.
Yes, I'll have these up. They'll be up on the website by the time the show airs. Okay, so these guys are going into an oven, 375 degrees. Okay, and that's in with the turkey. And while I'm in there, I'm going to grab the turkey and see how it's cooking. It's looking great.
Ooh.
So once the turkey has been taken out of the oven, we are going to place it on a plate, and we're going to cover it with foil for about 15 minutes, and we're going to allow it to rest. And what this is going to do, it's going to allow the juices to distribute evenly through the turkey before we cut it open.
And that's really important, understanding that the meat needs to rest.
Every meat that you're cooking with, when you're cooking it in the oven, because it's a dry heat, it's a constant heat, and you're pulling it out of the oven, and if you just cut things right away, the juices are going to just go right out on your cutting board.
Right.
So here what we're doing is our turkey is lovely here.
Does look wonderful.
Make sure you get the string off. You don't want to be eating string. Serving that to your guests might be a no-no. They may not like that.
Beautiful, Stephanie. Looks great.
Looks great. We'll see how it tastes, right?
Well, I happen to know how you cook, so
Yes.
I know it's going to be great.
You have tasted my food, haven't you? So, so yes, what we're doing with this is we're just going to slice it up.
Did you make your own cranberry sauce?
I did. This is just a quick cranberry orange sauce.
And nothing like it in the world. Your own
and
fresh
it's so
cranberry
easy.
sauce.
It's so easy. You buy the cranberries, you can get them frozen
And
all
they're
year
in
round,
season
or
right
they're
now.
in season now, so
Right.
you get them fresh. So super easy to make cranberry sauce. So all I'm doing here is I'm going to cut up the turkey. Oops, it's falling apart a little bit on me. Flip it over.
There you go. Oh, the fragrance is amazing. Look at that.
We're just going to serve it on a
I
plate.
have to get a picture of that.
And there we go. And then again, we have a little dollop of homemade cranberry sauce on the side. And the cranberry sauce is just the cranberries. I use orange juice and orange zest in mine. I put star anise. Make sure you take that out because it's very crunchy. It's not palatable. You can't consume it. But we have right there and some sugar. And that's pretty much all I add to it. A little bit of water if you need to. And then in my my pan here
How's that look?
is I have a little bit of extra juice from the pan. Remember I added a little chicken broth?
Yeah.
So this is going to add a little extra moisture again because turkey can be a little bit dry.
Yeah.
And
That
there we
looks
go.
wonderful. You see that, Bob? I don't want to tip it too much. Good. Oh, Lordy, it smells wonderful.
So there's our
That's it.
stuffed
I mean,
turkey.
this is such an easy meal to make.
It is pretty easy, and
Yeah.
you could actually stuff your turkey breast a day ahead of time, or even 2 days ahead, and just keep it wrapped nice and tight in the fridge. Actually, probably refrigerating will help hold it together a
So,
little
yeah.
bit better because we just did it a la minute. But it certainly will help hold it together a little bit, and you just want to bring it probably to I'm not gonna say complete room temperature, but at least a good 15 or 20 minutes before you actually pan sear it and put it in the oven, because and that will help hold
Great.
things together. So that's that dish. And then our next item for the sweet potatoes coming out of the oven. And again, these would normally cook for about 15 minutes or so, just to heat them all the way through.
And that's really all you're doing is just reheating
You're
them.
just reheating them,
And melting the butter
melting
and
the butter,
the
and
cream
melting the cheese, and the cream cheese and the butter. And what I like to do at the end of this, again using my little microplane, I love orange zest. I love orange in anything almost, but I really like it with sweet potato. So what I'm doing is just adding a little bit of orange zest,
Just
to the
enough
plate.
to accent the flavor.
Yep, exactly. And then I'm going to cut it a little bit and add just a little bit of juice to it as well.
Lovely.
And that just adds a little flavor, and there you have your easy meal for 2 people or 3 people, a small crowd.
I may switch from gardening to cooking.
Yes, well, I know you're a great chef yourself. So,
Yeah.
and again, these are something that you can make ahead of time. You can make this two
Exactly.
days ahead of time.
Yeah.
Keep them in the refrigerator, and they might take a little bit longer to heat up in the oven. But if you make them up to this point,
Yeah.
refrigerate them a day or 2 in advance, and then maybe just put them in the oven about 20 minutes or 25 minutes, or just you can.
It's creative.
And it's different.
It's very, very
The
different.
bourbon,
Tasty.
the bacon,
Yep.
a little cinnamon. It's unusual.
Yeah. Good deal. All right. Well, thank you, my dear. Shall
You're
we get
welcome.
our fox and sit down and try this?
Let's eat.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next time. Thank you, Stephanie.
Nice.